said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. Do you see that as the
Who
final
said
word?
that?
The Premier of Greenland.
Well, that's their problem. That's their problem. I disagree with him. I don't know who he is. Don't know anything about him. But that's going to be a big problem for him.
Donald Trump has issued a blunt warning over Greenland, a warning aimed not at a rival power, but at the island's own prime minister. Trump says he does not even know him, yet claims the man now has a big problem because Greenland chose Denmark over the United States. This is no longer diplomatic theater. It is an open confrontation over territory, power, and the Arctic future. Speaking to reporters at Joint Base Andrews, President Donald Trump dismissed Greenland's prime minister outright. Trump said he disagreed with Greenland's position and did not know Jens Frederik Nielsen at all, but he warned that Nielsen's stance would bring serious consequences. The remarks followed a dramatic show of unity in Copenhagen. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen stood shoulder to shoulder with Greenland's leader. Together, they rejected Trump's long-running ambition to acquire the Arctic island. Greenland's prime minister left little room for interpretation. He said that if forced to choose between the United States and Denmark, the choice was Denmark. He also said Greenland chooses NATO, the European Union, and the Kingdom of Denmark.
That one cannot simply purchase another people. And it's fundamentally about small nations not having to live in fear of larger ones. That is precisely why we clearly state our objection. And that is why many of our allies are doing the same in the Nordic region, in Europe, and across the rest of the world. We are standing up not just for ourselves, but for the world order that previous generations also built. And our democracy, tomorrow, Greenland and Denmark will meet with the USA. We come together, we stay together, and we go together. We want dialogue and we want to cooperate. We are not looking for conflict, but the message we want to convey is very clear. Greenland is not for sale. We have made that perfectly clear right from the very beginning, just as we, since the very outset of all these discussions, have explicitly told the Americans that if the primary concern is security, then there is significantly more that we can and absolutely must accomplish jointly, and we fully intend to reiterate this point during our meeting tomorrow. Because, of course, we wish to strengthen our cooperation regarding security in the Arctic with the United States of America, with NATO, with Europe, and with the Arctic NATO member states. And just as the Baltic countries, for instance, are not left alone to defend NATO's eastern flank against Russia, because it is indeed a shared concern for the entire alliance, the very same principle applies in the Arctic. NATO must protect and defend Greenland just as much as any other millimeter of NATO's territory. And this security guarantee is the very best defense against China or Russia as a potential threat in the Arctic. Dear Greenlanders, you must know that we stand united. We are doing that today. We will do that tomorrow, and we will continue to do so.
Greenland won't be owned by the USA. Greenland will not be governed by the USA.
Greenland won't be part of the USA.
We select the Greenland we know today,
and which is a part of the Kingdom of Denmark.
We are now facing a geopolitical crisis, and if we are to choose between the US and Denmark at this very moment,
So we choose Denmark.
we choose NATO, we choose the Kingdom of Denmark, we choose the European Union.
For the past year, we, Greenland and Denmark, have had to manage a truly unprecedented and challenging situation. We have succeeded in doing so together. We have taken significant initiatives to further enhance and strengthen security in the Arctic region. We have significantly tightened the bonds between us within the kingdom, and we have actively built even closer alliances with our partners and allies across the entire world. It hasn't been easy to stand up to an utterly unacceptable pressure from our closest allies for a generation, but much suggests the hardest part now lies ahead of us.
And it has, throughout this entire process, become increasingly clear.
Even though it is the Greenlanders who first and foremost feel the insecurity, and even though we, throughout the entire Commonwealth, have had to listen to many insults, there is something much more fundamental at stake here.
Those comments landed just hours before crucial talks in Washington. Danish and Greenlandic officials are scheduled to meet U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. They are also due to meet Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Trump's response was swift and uncompromising. He said Greenland's position was their problem and warned it would become a big problem for its leader personally.
Greenland said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. that as the
Who
final
said
word?
that?
The Premier of Greenland.
Well, that's their problem. That's their problem. I disagree with them. I don't know who he is. Don't know anything about him. But that's going to be a big problem for him.
This confrontation marks a new peak in Trump's Arctic push. For years, Trump has argued the United States must control Greenland. He claims it is essential to block Chinese or Russian influence in the region.
We need that because if you take a look outside of Greenland right now, there are Russian destroyers, there are Chinese destroyers and bigger, there are Russian submarines all over the place. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. The fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also.
Both Moscow and Beijing have dismissed those allegations. Regional officials have also rejected the suggestion that Greenland is vulnerable.
I mean, that statement makes no sense in terms of facts. There are no Russian and Chinese ships all over the place around Greenland. Russia and or China has no capacity to occupy Greenland or to take control over Greenland. I mean, there might be a Russian submarine now and again that sails past Greenland, probably, but also that sails past Iceland or the Canadian islands up north as well. So Greenland is not spectacular in any way when it comes to Chinese or Russian shipping. So if Donald Trump is serious about his concerns when it comes to Russia or China in the Arctic, he should focus on Alaska first and foremost, and then probably also look at the European Arctic, look at Norway, Sweden, Finland, and how they are managing Russia in that space.
But Trump has doubled down regardless. Now the rhetoric is being matched by legislative action. Florida Congressman Randy Fine has introduced the Greenland Annexation and Statehood Act. The bill would authorize the president to take whatever steps necessary to acquire the territory. Danish officials have reacted with fury. Denmark's ambassador to the United States said the premise was unacceptable. He said it was made abundantly clear that Greenland is part of Denmark. NATO has so far stayed above the political fray. Secretary General Mark Rutte declined to comment directly on Trump's remarks. He said his responsibility is ensuring security and stability in the Arctic.
You have to respect the fact that when there are discussions between allies, my role has to be to make sure we solve issues. And when it comes to the protection of the High North, that is my role. I can never comment on that. That's impossible in public. And what I'm doing, and with the US and Canada and all our allies in Europe, is to make sure that we not only concentrate about Greenland. This is an issue about the High North. This is an issue about the Arctic territory. Let's not be naive. Even if there are not that many ships sailing at the moment, we know that with the sea lanes opening up in the High North and the Arctic, and this is not only true for Greenland, this is true for the whole Arctic area. It's not only Russia active there, it is increasingly also China being active there. So when it comes to the Arctic region, we have to work together as an alliance, and that's exactly what we are doing.